Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Sarah with the Adventure Squad, and today I'm going to be showing you how to play My City. Now in My City, you have just arrived to a new land, and you are going to be building your own city. Now this is basically a campaign game, and each game you play is called an episode. There are 3 episodes in each chapter, and there's 8 chapters within this game. So essentially you are playing 24 games of My City. Each game you play, there's going to be new rules, new scoring techniques, and just things that are added throughout the game to keep it interesting and fun. This is also a legacy game, so everyone gets their own board, and you're going to be building and evolving your city on this board. So you're going to be adding things, you're going to be putting stickers on your board, and just changing your board layout in general. Now, most legacy games only allow for one playthrough because you're changing boards or maybe destroying components or adding things, but this game is special because on the other side of the player boards, there's actually something called the Eternal game. So this is a game board that you're not changing or manipulating or damaging in any way. This is simply a board that you can play after playing through the campaign game, and it gives it more replayability and a chance to play it again and again instead of just one playthrough. Now I'm going to try not to give away too many spoilers from later on in the game, but I will be going through the basic gameplay, how to take a turn, how scoring works, that kind of thing. That way you can get a feel for how the game plays and what to expect as you go through the campaign. With that, let's jump on in and show you how to play My City. Setup for this game is pretty quick and simple. Each player gets a game board, and each game board has a different animal symbol on it. So this player is a bear, and they would take the corresponding tiles that go with their board. So all of their tiles have the bear symbol on the back side. Each player has the same set of tiles that they get to start the game. There's 8 red, 8 blue, 8 yellow, and there's 8 different shapes, 1 in each color. As we progress through the game and get into later episodes and chapters, we may or may not be adding more or different tiles and tile shapes. Then, each player gets a score marker or a score cube here and puts it on number 10 on their board. As we play and score at the end of the round, our marker cube is going to go up or down for how many points we have. When we start a new episode, our cube gets reset to the number 10. Lastly, we have our building cards out here in the middle of the table where everyone can see. Now, there's 1 building card for each of the starting tiles here, so there's 24 starting tiles and there's 24 cards in here. Turns are pretty fast and easy. First, the top card gets flipped over, and we're going to find this building within our tiles. Once we find that building, we place it somewhere on our map. Once everyone has placed their tile on their map, we can then start the next round and flip over the next card. We do the same thing and find the tile that was flipped over and place it on our board. The goal of the game is to cover as much of our board as possible. We'll get into scoring shortly, but let's start with the tiles and tile placement rules. Buildings can only be built on the light green spaces, so they cannot be built on mountains or on forests. You can build on trees and rocks. However, the trees are worth points at the end of the game if they are not built on, and rocks will cost you points. There'll be negative points at the end of the game if they are still open and not built on. So, as I said, we'll get into the more in-depth scoring later on in the video, but in terms of construction rules with your tiles, these can be built on because they're on the light green spaces. A building cannot be placed on the river or across the river, so it cannot be on both sides of the river. It has to be on one side or the other. The first building that you place on your game board must be placed along the river, so you can't play it, say, way over here somewhere. It has to be touching the river somewhere. It also cannot be touching by a corner, so I wouldn't be able to play my first tile here. It has to be a full side touching the river. After you've played at least one tile, any future pieces must be adjacent to an already played tile. And again, it has to be touching by a side. So it has to be adjacent by sides. It can't just be by a corner like this. That's not allowed. It has to be adjacent by at least one side. Buildings are also considered adjacent if they are across the river from each other. So these two would be considered adjacent. And once you have played a building and you move on to the next turn, so you flip over another card, you cannot move any previously placed buildings. If you cannot play a building or choose not to play a building because it doesn't really fit with what you need at the moment, you can always choose to pass. When you pass, your score token must go down by 1. If your score token gets to be 0, you can no longer pass on any tiles. If you choose not to play a tile when your score tracker is at 0, you automatically end your episode. Each round, after the new card has been flipped over, players can decide whether or not they want to end their episode. If a player's board is starting to get full and they can't really play many more of the tiles that are going to be drawn from the pile, they can choose to end their episode. If they want to end their episode, they say it out loud so that way all players know that they are stopping for that episode and they can no longer play any more tiles. If you end your episode, you do not need to take a minus point. You only take a minus point if you pass but continue playing in the episode. Play continues until all players have ended their episode. An episode can also end if there are players still playing when the last building card is flipped over. If there are no more building cards to be flipped over, the episode is over. Each chapter comes with its own chapter rule sheet and chapter scoring sheet. So over on the rule sheet, we can find any new rules that are coming into effect in the different episodes within this chapter. And also it kind of talks a little bit about what happens after the scoring. And this information is over on the scoring sheet as well, but this just goes into a little bit more detail on what's happening after scoring. So we might be filling in progress circles, or we might be placing stickers on our boards, whether it's rocks or trees, that kind of thing. So that will have all of the in-depth information on what's happening within the chapter. Over on our score sheet, we're going to find all of the scoring that happens at the end of the round. So in episode 1, these are the things that we're going to be scoring. So immediately when you do not construct a building, you get -1 point. So if we decide to pass but not end our episode, if we want to keep playing, we just take -1 point. And then for end round scoring, we have trees. We count up any trees that are still showing on our board and we get 1 point for each tree. For rocks, we count up all the rocks that are still showing on our board and we get -1 point. So we definitely want to try to cover up those rocks if we're able to. We also get -1 point for each empty light green space. So any spaces that are not built on, you get -1 point. Then, as I said, it also includes the actions that we're taking after scoring. So whoever had the most points in that round gets 2 progress symbols, and they also must apply a rock sticker to their board. The second place person gets 1 progress circle, and any other individuals that are playing get a tree sticker. So these are all of the things that we are scoring in episode 1, and then in episode 2, we're going to be scoring everything from episode 1 plus this other scoring opportunity. So the number of buildings in largest group of each color. So you take a look at your buildings and your city and you find the largest groups that you have of each color and you count how many buildings are in those groups, and that's how many points you get. As I said, I don't want to give away too many spoilers from later on in the game, but these are definitely the most reoccurring scoring rules. So we're always going to be looking at our trees, our rocks, our open spaces that we haven't built on. All of these things are going to continue to be scored throughout the game unless the rules state otherwise. Now, as I said, after the scoring portion of the round, we're going to be getting those bonus things like stickers for our board or progress symbols if we got first or second place with points. And these progress symbols are very important, and that is going to be how we determine the winner of the overall game. So whoever ends the entire campaign with the most progress circles has built the best and greatest city, and they will be the winner. Now there's several ways that we can gain these progress circles up top. One of them being, as I said, the scoring at the end of the round. Another is if we get 50 points in a round, whether that's before or after our scoring, we get a progress circle for making it to 50 points. And lastly, as we go through the game, there might be other elements that get added and give you more opportunities to score these progress circles. And this is the other side of the player board, and this is the eternal board. So it's pretty similar to the other side of the board. As you can see, like the shapes and the layout of the map. However, this board has some of the things that you'll see as you get further along in the campaign, such as gold and wells. So this lets you get a lot more replayability, and you're able to enjoy the game more than just one playthrough. So the rules for the Eternal board are pretty similar to those found in the normal campaign game in terms of tile placement and gameplay rules. The rules state that the gameplay surrounding the Eternal board is very similar to episode 10 within the campaign. So if you don't like the thought of just destroying a game or only playing through a legacy game once, this is a great option for you because it does give you a replayable board. Some of the things that we love the most about My City is just how fast the game is. As I said, you can play through 3 episodes or a chapter in about 90 minutes or so. So as long as you have an hour or an hour and a half, you can get a couple games of My City in. Another great thing is that everyone is playing simultaneously, so there's not too much downtime. There's not a lot of analysis paralysis like other games. The hardest part is just deciding where you're going to be putting your pieces within your city. This game is great for all ages. We are playing through the campaign with our kiddo, and she is 13 and absolutely loves it. Coming up, I'm also going to be making videos on other Kosmos games, such as My City Roll and Build, which is pretty similar to this My City game, except you're using dice. And there is also a game called My Island, which is, again, somewhat similar, except you have discovered a new island, and you are exploring that. So make sure you check back to my channel to see those other fun, similar games to My City. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Adventure Squad down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, get your game on.